Welcome to the Marvelous Middle Age Podcast, where we are building a community of people who are in the midst of midlife, sharing our stories and learning from each other along the way. Each week, I'll have a guest join me to discuss a topic that impacts our lives and touches on some aspect of midlife. We'll discuss relationships, transitions, health and well-being, parenting, careers, and more. My goal is to encourage and support you and help you thrive as you navigate this adventure of midlife. Join me here each week for the Marvelous Middle Age Podcast. Welcome back to the Marvelous Middle Age Podcast. This week, I'm happy to welcome back Pam Schulz. Pam was on Season 1, Episode 13 of the podcast. She is the wife of a high school social studies teacher and a mother to two sons who are young adults. Pam is currently serving as the executive director of Faith Life Church and previously worked in public education for 20 years as a music teacher and school administrator. This year, Pam is turning 50, and we talk about what she is looking forward to in this next decade and how she is choosing to approach this season of her life. Turning 50 is a big milestone, and if you're turning 50 this year, I hope you celebrate how far you have come and are looking forward to this next chapter. Pam Schulz, welcome back to the Marvelous Middle Age Podcast.
Thanks, Nicole. I'm glad to be here.
I am so glad that you are back on. If you haven't listened, Pam's episode was in Season 1 of the podcast, and we talked about your sons, Grant and Jackson, and their journeys and what they're up to. Both of Pam and I both have sons who are neurodivergent, and so we talk a little bit about parenting kids who are transitioning to college and what that might look like. And it's a great episode. Check it out. It's a must listen. I've gotten a lot of really good feedback about it. So please take a listen to that episode with Pam. Before we get started, I want to give a quick shout out to Robin. I met Robin at your son Jackson's graduation party recently. And Robin is a listener of the podcast.
Yes, she is.
And happens to be in college, which just floored me. I was so impressed and appreciative of Robin's support of the podcast. So Robin, if you're listening, thank you for being a listener of the podcast. And I hope you keep listening and sharing it. Really, really appreciate it so much. Today, we are going to talk about turning 50. But before we do that, can you just reintroduce yourself to the listeners, who you are, about your family, what you do?
Absolutely. My name is Pam Schulz. I work at soon-to-be Faith Life Lutheran Church, and I'm executive director. I've held quite a few different positions. I was a music teacher, a school administrator, family ministry director, and now an executive director, which actually is fantastic because I love to learn. And so being able to always have something new to learn. Two kids, Grant and Jackson, they are now 19 and 20. And my husband just is wrapping up his school year and is a social studies teacher.
Wow. You know, and you say Grant and Jackson are 19 and 20. And I know they're adult, men now. They're taller than we are. I mean, right? But when I think of them, I picture the two little boys from VBS that I watched running and playing and laughing. It's like, when did our kids decide to grow up? Like, come on, guys.
I have no idea. They're men. They're full-grown men at this point.
Yeah.
So
it goes fast, right? The days are long, but the years are very short. So, but anyway, thank you, and thank you for coming back on. I'm glad that you're here. So we have something in common. We are both turning 50 this year. The
Absolutely.
Big 50.
Go 1974.
That's right. 1974. You bet. Absolutely. And I'm doing a series. My birthday month is July. So these episodes are coming out in July. And I wanted to talk to other people who are turning 50. And it's a big milestone birthday, I feel like this one's kind of really impactful for a lot of reasons. But I wanted to talk about what it feels like for you to turn 50. Just your general feelings about it, observations, anything you're noticing, anticipating your 50th.
Yeah, I actually think I'm almost looking forward to 50 in some ways. I did not like turning 40. I actually should say I did not like turning 35 because you were closer to 40.
Yes.
So had a little bit of that at 45. So I'm not minding 50. I kind of wonder what it'll be at 55 when I'm like closer to 60.
Right.
But I'm actually there was a lot of pressure on me to have figure out what I'm going to do for my party because my husband loves a good birthday party.
Okay.
So now that I've kind of figured that out, we're going to go to a Fever Aces game in Indianapolis with some girlfriends.
Awesome.
And I cannot wait. And so it's looking forward to that because it's not something I typically do. So being able to do something like that. And so the actual number, I'm actually not too worried about it.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. Now, that being said, I always feel like there's a new thing that hurts when I go for a walk, or I'm like, why is that part of my foot feeling like that? That's never happened before.
Right.
So I don't really enjoy that part about being
the aging part. Well, and I think too, it's even, not only does this new thing hurt, but it takes longer to
oh my goodness
recover from, ouch, that hurts, or my back is sore. Whereas, years ago, it might be sore for like a day. And then by the next day, you're kind of over that. Whereas at this stage, things hurt a little longer. It takes a little longer to rebound from the bump and bruise or the twist or the strain or whatever.
Or just being more busy, right? So when you're busy, it takes a little bit longer. I just came off of a convention weekend and I said to my husband on my way back, I wonder if this is going to be, I need a nap more each year.
Yeah.
Because it just is, you're just older.
Right. The recovery from busy is a little tougher, I think. Yeah. When you have several busy days in a row or you're traveling. Yep. Well, traveling always takes it out of me. I need a day to rest and recover and just even mentally kind of reset myself. Whereas, in my 20s, I didn't need that quite so much.
But at least I know it, right? So I kind of made sure that I knew I would be really busy, that I actually took a day at home.
Nice.
Before I went back to work to do some laundry, reset my brain. I just have a little bit more, I guess that's when you're 50. I have a little more knowledge about myself and what I need so I can be my best self when I go back to work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to that point, I think when we're younger, we do maybe overextend and push ourselves, thinking I can do this, go. Whereas now we're like, I don't have to do that anymore if I don't want to. I can take that day in between the traveling and going back, or I can take a nap in the afternoon on a Sunday for 2 hours like I did.
Yes.
Last week. So,
I say all that and I talk a really good game and then I say yes again to something else.
I'm committed. But again, like you said, at least now that, hey, if I am going to do these things, I need to give myself a buffer. I need to give myself a little extra recovery time there. So as you're thinking about turning 50 and you've articulated some of this, what are some of the, things you're looking forward to about this next decade? Anything, joys, excitement, whether it be personally, professionally, anything that, you feel like is going well that you want to see continuing or that's been fun or fulfilling for you?
Yeah. Well, I've been very involved with the PEO Sisterhood. And so
tell me about what exactly is the PEO Sisterhood for anybody that doesn't know.
So for people who don't know, it's a women's organization that is very much a sisterhood. It started off as a sorority on a college campus. And so your relationships with the other sisters in your chapter is important. But what we do is we raise money for grants, loans, and scholarships for women who are just really talking about education. Because we know if we educate a woman, we really educate her whole family. And so over the years, it's a more than 150-year-old organization. Wow. And so just millions and millions of dollars that has gone towards women in education. So I feel really strongly about it. I served on the executive committee here in Iowa on their board, and just has allowed me to meet so many more people that are passionate about women in education, are passionate about female relationships, and also female intergenerational relationships that I think are so important. There used to be a time where perhaps your mom, when you moved out, you moved like the next block over, or grandma lived around the corner, or your aunt maybe lived maybe the next town over. We don't live that way. And so these intergenerational female relationships that we do need, we don't have. And I think that's part of being 50 now. I'm kind of in the middle of the ages of women in this group. And so I have learned so much from women who are older than me. And I'm learning so much for those who are coming behind, like, AI is a thing, and so it's nice to have people who actually get it, that I can say, okay, tell me a little more about this. But I know I was visiting a chapter up in the Cedar Falls area, and one of the women I always talk when I go to chapters about why did you become a PEO and why do you stay? And one of the women had said, I have just learned how to age gracefully and who I want to be when I am 70, when I am 80. And I've been thinking about that comment a lot of how do I want to be when I'm 70 or 80 years old? I want to be still active. I want to still be, caring about women, caring about where we're headed as a society. And so I think that's all been there. So it's put me in a little bit. So I want to continue to serve in that organization in some capacity, in some way, just because it's given so much to me as far as being able to use my leadership skills and learn from so many other amazing female leaders.
So, love that.
So, and I'm just coming off the weekend of state convention. So of course I'm on the high of all of that, but being around some just amazing people.
That's wonderful.
All have the same mission in mind, right? Really knowing that we still do have a long way to go for women. I come by that very honestly. My great-great-grandmother was a suffragist in upstate New York. So
it's in your DNA to be an advocate for women and all of that. I love that.
Absolutely. My great-great-grandmother was a teacher, one-room schoolhouse kind of thing. So, so it is in my DNA for women in education and how important that is. And so I think I'm really excited about kind of where that's headed. Like many other service organizations, though, our membership is going down, which is, one of my things I've been thinking about going into my 50s is how do we help 20 and 30-year-old women see the benefits of intergenerational female relationships, see the benefits of belonging to something that is, something that's not just I belong to this for this month and this season, but something that's life sustaining. Whether or not it's not your same place. I mean, there's PEOs all over the North America, right? But it's just really helping that younger generation where you're saying, what would I want people to know? Well, how important it is to have women that you do learn from and look up to that are older than you. And also, as you're turning 50, women you look up to and learn from that are a decade or two younger than you as well. And so always for me, it's taking that knowing I'm a learner, knowing I want to always continue to do better at whatever it is that I can learn from all ages of people.
Exactly. Well, I will put a link in the show notes to PEO. So if anyone is listening, they're interested, they want to learn more, how to get involved, they can do that. I think the mission of the organization sounds amazing, first of all, but I wholeheartedly agree that we all benefit when we are open to learning from each other, no matter what the age. I think having mentors or women that are older than you, that you can look to, that you've seen maybe their journey and you're like, wow, she did some things right. And I really want to learn from her. or if there are women that are younger than you that you can mentor and hopefully guide, but also, like you said, learn from as well. I think a lot of times, and I find myself doing this quite honestly, like I look at people who are younger than me and say, well, they have a lot to learn and
they just don't know what they don't know.
Right. They haven't been through what I have and all of that. Okay. Maybe true. However, there's a lot we can learn from each other. Like you said, no matter what the age, no matter what stage we are in life, we can learn. And I love that PEO has provided that to you and so many other women. I think that's great.
And I know one of your questions is, what would you want someone else to know, or how do you know, you're talking about how we feel different. I think really when you were first starting your career, you felt like you had something to prove almost, like I am good enough to do this. Here's what we're going to do. Right. So it's kind of nice to sit in a spot. Do I still feel, that imposter syndrome sometimes sitting in the chair I'm sitting in? Absolutely. But there's still also that, that you can rest in. Oh wait, no, I've done something like this before. I know how to move forward, and then always being open to, this is brand new, but that's okay. I've done a lot of brand new things by this point. So how do I move forward with it? So I think there's a little more, I guess, ease or just feeling, when you're sitting in your chair, whatever chair that is you're sitting in, I think there's just a little bit more of ease in feeling who you are. There's not like I have to keep going, improving myself over and over again. You kind of been there, done that, right? So I am looking forward to kind of relaxing into that position.
Yes.
I think that's going to be easier with my kids not home because, so when your kids are home, there's still something, and I hope there's something new all the time, but they are, they take up a lot of your time.
They need you, right. Even when they're older, there's still things going on. They need advice. They need support, whatever the case may be. Absolutely. And when they're not physically there and they're maybe more on their own, you can be freed up then to pursue and do things, that you want to do and want to spend your time on.
Absolutely. And then really, I think that one thing I am looking forward to is more time with my spouse, being able to set our schedule a little bit differently than we have been. So I'm looking forward to that as we're kind of moving forward. We figured out that he really can retire in 3 years.
Awesome.
That's
exciting.
I know. Can we financially do that? I don't know yet. But is he eligible? Yes.
Yeah.
And so when we're starting to look down that lens, I think I can choose to either be anxious about it or excited about it. So I'm going to choose to be excited about it and kind of what that brings back in that next chapter. I have no idea how I will ever retire. I don't think my dad ever really did. He was certainly into his 70s still doing things. So, that'll be a new interesting thing to navigate where I actually love to work. So that's just part of who I am. And
it's just like maybe in what capacity to what, is it maybe a reduced schedule you're doing? I had my former colleague and friend Jane Shildroth was on the podcast for season 2, and she talked about doing kind of a phased approach. So she was, full-time and then was approaching retirement and was able to, at her employer, work kind of a phased approach out where her hours were lesser. So she didn't have to be in the office as much. So it wasn't this drastic, I'm there one day, I'm not the next kind of feeling.
Absolutely.
And she was able to kind of phase out. And I really like that too. If you're able to, because it doesn't feel like this drop off, yet you're also not, bound to the office 40 plus 50 hours a week. If that's a possibility, I think that's kind of a cool option.
It is a great option. I also think we need to be realistic about it would probably be that I will live longer than my grandmother did,
Right.
And
life
so,
expectancy. Yeah, for sure.
Retiring at 55, there's a lot of life left to live.
Absolutely.
And not sure that's, I got lots I still want to do professionally.
Right. Stay in it as long as you want to. And then if
right.
there's a time when you're like, I think I've done what I came here to do, and I'm ready to do something else.
Right.
And that will come, it may come at 65 or 70 for you, or it may come before that. Who knows?
Right. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? But I do know that that is brand new conversation that we're having after 50.
New stuff. Yeah. Oh, that's something I think, my husband and I have kind of just started to talk a little bit about future things like that. And that I think is something that comes with this
Absolutely.
decade. When you're in your 20s, 30s and 40s, you're so in it, like career wise, you're so in it. And then 50 hits and it's like, oh, I'm closer to quote unquote retirement, right? Than I am to starting, unless but the other cool thing too is you can start something totally new too.
Absolutely.
Which again, I think people don't think about at this stage in this season, the 50s, the 60s. You could start a completely different career, and that's what's beautiful about it. So wherever you're at in there, I think it's freeing a little bit to have that.
It is definitely freeing a little bit. I mean, I have had the conversation, am I going to get another master's? Because it's like, what are you going to do afterwards? And then it's like, well, they're starting another micro MDiv program. Does an MBA make more sense? Kind of. And then at the same time, my friend says, well, what's the ROI? What's going to be the return on investment? Oh, that's a good question. I should probably consider that just because of what my age is. And some of that return on investment is what you're going to just gain in learning, not necessarily in your career path. Or,
right.
But it is something I haven't had to think about before, right? Like, what is if I do decide to do this, how many years do I use it? Does it make sense? But I do like to continue to learn. So
right. I was just going to say, you've expressed that you enjoy that aspect of things. And I think there's also something freeing about if you did pursue another degree, or if you're thinking about it, if you're listening and you're thinking about it and you're in your 40s, your 50s, ROI is absolutely a thought process to navigate through, but also maybe I want to do this because I just really enjoy learning and would love a new challenge to keep my brain going and my excitement. And does it have to have a payoff? Maybe. But if it doesn't, is that the worst thing in the world?
Or is the payoff just what you learn?
Right.
I mean,
the fulfillment of that.
The fulfillment of all of that. So I have no idea if I'll do that.
Yeah. but it's cool that you're even thinking about it.
But it's fun to consider. But I have no idea if that's even where I will go. But who knows?
Yeah, who knows? That's the awesome thing about it. So on the other side of the coin, what have been some of we talked a little about the physical aches and pains of the age, but have there been any other challenges, expected or unexpected, about this stage of life heading into your 50s?
Well, I think there's a couple. We talked physical. I would say also there's just more people I know that have significant health scares. And that's a very real thing.
Yes.
And it is something to navigate. It also helps you have a really good perspective on what matters and what doesn't.
Absolutely.
But it is true that's happening. Have people I know that have passed away, right?
Yes.
And that that's a new part of that. And when someone passes away in their 20s, it's in a complete tragedy, typically unexpected, right? But it's not the same numbers. And so that has been a little bit more as far as we think of the physical and emotional side of it. As going into our 50s. The financial side is, are we ready to do something like retirement? I mean, I think there becomes a little bit of strain in that way, just to say, because you don't know, right? It becomes this incredible unknown is how long do I have to be able to sustain, right? Our the type of life we want to live. And what is the market going to do? Because that's going to make a huge impact on what we're doing before, you're investing or doing your 401k in your 20s and 30s. And honestly, I never looked at it. Right. I mean, it was like, I'm putting
lots
this,
of time.
I have lots of time. I don't have to consider this at all. I'm just paying attention more. And some of that for me is a little bit anxiety producing, just because I am the person that does the finances in our relationship. And so I do feel a little bit responsibility there. And so how does that look? Which is just a completely different way than when you looked at it when you were younger. And we're in a great position. I've been so blessed that way. At the same time, you just don't know, right?
Right.
I mean, you just don't know. Many of these medical concern is an incredible financial burden for some, and we don't know what's ahead of you.
Yeah.
And part of that is exciting, and part of that is a little bit of I'm unsure.
Right. There's a little bit of fear there, which then, like you said, can cause anxiety that you have to process through and look at and try to be as calm, cool, and collected about it. But while at the same time, wow, there's a big unknown here that we don't know. And you're seeing, as you pointed out, other people navigating some really serious health issues, chronic illnesses, diagnoses, and thinking, okay, I'm their age or close to that age, right? And so it's that unknown. It's I completely understand.
So
that.
I would say those are the things I'm thinking about a little bit more. Your yearly mammogram becomes a little more like, okay, what are they going to see this time? And make sure that's okay. Got my first colonoscopy. Everybody go out and get your colonoscopy.
Yes, the age is 45 now. I just had my first one last October, and I tell you, the horror stories that you might hear about, especially the prep, everybody talks about the prep. It's not, something you want to do on a regular basis, but it's not that bad. Okay. No. Please believe me. The exam itself is not that bad. It's fine. I know some people have had difficult experiences, but I think most people, it goes pretty standard, pretty well.
It was, it's not fun, and you have to be near a bathroom for your prep, but at the same time, it's a day.
Yep. Right. And the incidences in colon cancer in younger people are rising. So, which is terrifying. So go get your get your exams, understand what those are, for anyone listening, if you're whatever male, female, whatever age you are, please get your routine exams, mammograms and colonoscopies and this one and that one. Talk to your doctor, get it done.
Yeah.
It's our little plug for today.
Absolutely. Here's our little public service announcement.
PSA.
PSA that to get your colonoscopy. But it is true, right? It is just that stuff becomes more frequent.
Yes.
And it becomes it's more of a concern if I miss my yearly exam now than it would be when I was younger.
Exactly. And let's not even start talking about perimenopause and menopause because we would be here all day on that one. I definitely want to do more episodes on that topic, but that's another transition that is interesting and full of things that I think a lot of us maybe weren't very prepared for. So
no, they get you prepared to graduate high school. They get you prepared. You go to all these baby classes. But where are the classes to get ready for menopause?
No,
we don't have them.
No, we don't. I mentioned her on other podcasts, but if you are in this season and you believe you might be in perimenopause, check out Dr. Mary Claire Haver. I will link to her Instagram in the show notes. She is, for me, amazing in terms of the resources that she has and what she's doing. Her book, The New Menopause, is out, which I'm listening to on Audible, and I've just gotten into it, and it's fantastic. And also here in season 2, I did an episode with Carrie Brownben, and we just barely scratched the surface of that conversation. So check that episode out as well. Because it can be overwhelming and it's just not, I think it's having a moment. I think this conversation is having a moment. It's becoming more, talked about and discussed, but not to the level that it needs to be. And we need to have more conversations so people understand that they don't have to go through this and suffer and go through all of these symptoms, which there's like up to 60 different symptoms of perimenopause.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I'm really digging in because I feel like I'm in it right now. And we don't have to suffer, and there's things you can do. And again, more to come on that in the future. But if we started down that road, we'd be here for, it'd be tomorrow and we'd still be talking. So, well, Pam, I really appreciate you sharing your thoughts about turning 50. I'm excited. What month is your birthday this year? October. It's coming up. That's exciting. Is there anything else you would want to share about what it feels like to turn 50?
I think you have a choice. I think you have a choice on how you either embrace turning 50 or you dread it.
Yep.
And I just decided to embrace it.
Same.
And I don't mind telling people my age. Nope. They always said, "Oh, don't ask a woman her age."
No.
I earned 50. So
Absolutely.
I'm going to tell people, no, I'm 50. I don't mind saying it. So it's embracing where you are and who you are right now. And so I would say, yeah, it's your choice. How do you want to enter your 50s?
Right. I absolutely love that. On that note, we'll wrap up for today. And I just want to thank you for coming back on the podcast and being willing to talk about what it feels like to turn 50.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You bet. If you're enjoying the podcast, please follow the show to make sure the latest episode is on your podcast feed each week. I would greatly appreciate a rating and a 5-star review on the podcast platform you're listening on. It helps others to find the show. If there are topics you'd like me to discuss on the show, please email me at themarvelousmiddleagepodcast@gmail.com or direct message me on Instagram at Nicole Stute. Thank you for listening.